I just simply think that this is being largely ignored by the American public. It is being hyper-driven by the most knowledgeable, well-funded, and well-informed traders on the planet. To me, there's a story that I think you and I will pick back up on here maybe in a few months, that will see gold and silver at levels that people are shocked by. And that's exactly how it works. You know, the big money always is positioned before the little guy even figures it out. And here we are at $3,000 gold and not a damn word from the media. People are sleeping at the switch. Rick Rule will tell you 0.5% allocation to precious metals from Joe and Jane Sixpack to the Harvard Endowment Fund.
As gold prices surge toward the $3,000 mark, concerns over dwindling supply and aggressive central bank stockpiling intensify uncertainty in global financial markets. Andy Schectman, president of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, warns that the physical gold market is under immense pressure, with massive withdrawals from the London Bullion Market Association, LBMA, and an increasing number of nations repatriating their reserves. This shift signals a strategic move by governments to secure tangible assets amid mounting economic instability, currency devaluation, and geopolitical tensions, reinforcing the notion that gold remains a cornerstone of financial security in uncertain times. Schectman points to striking data showing that since November 2024, over 12.5 million ounces of gold and 40 million ounces of silver have moved from London to the US COMEX system. The sheer scale of these transfers suggests that powerful financial institutions or sovereign entities are positioning themselves for a major monetary shift. Further fueling speculation, JPMorgan is set to deliver an extraordinary $4 billion worth of gold for the February contract, prompting questions about the identities and motives of these high-stakes buyers. What entity has billions in liquid capital to buy gold at this scale? Schectman asks, hinting that elite financial players, or even governments, could make strategic moves in anticipation of a global financial reset. Amid these developments, Schectman suggests that revaluing the U.S. Treasury's gold reserves, still recorded at an outdated $42.22 per ounce, could unlock trillions in unrealized value, providing a potential buffer against soaring national debt and rising interest costs. As gold approaches $2,937 per ounce, monetary experts like Judy Shelton have proposed issuing gold-backed treasury bonds to restore confidence in the dollar and stabilize the economy. Meanwhile, Senator Cynthia Lummis continues to push for an independent audit of Fort Knox, where over 8,000 tons of gold are claimed to be stored, yet have not been officially verified in nearly 70 years. We present the clips of Andy's latest video. Before we continue to discuss this, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates.
This rapid repatriation of gold and silver that we are seeing is suggesting a very big strategic shift. I would not look past that, Jesse. I think what we are seeing right now is so far outside, you want to call it an outlier, it is so far outside of anything I've ever seen in my career. And the interesting thing about it is that the American retail public is completely asleep at the switch. The market is being driven by central banks right now, and the central banks are the ones that write the playbook. They are most well-informed traders in the world. And the American public is stuck in this NVIDIA, Bitcoin, Apple risk-on trade. I don't think we've even begun to see the fallout of what would happen if we see some sort of a market crash, because you have everyone in a handful of 7 stocks. You got everyone in Bitcoin. And yet the biggest money in the world is buying physical commodities hand over fist and repatriating them, taking possession. That it's not an inflation trade. It's a chaos trade. People are afraid. It's uncertainty. They're buying gold and silver and taking possession of it because something's coming. And they don't do those kinds of things at that level just for the hell of it. They don't reclassify gold as the only tier 1 asset in the world. They don't repatriate all their gold from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. They don't bring it all home to the COMEX. They don't do all of these things. You don't see JPMorgan now move to holding GLD and SLV if it weren't something bigger coming. In my opinion, I just simply think that this is being largely ignored by the American public. It is being hyper-driven by the most knowledgeable, well-funded, and well-informed traders on the planet. To me, there's a story that I think you and I will pick back up on here maybe in a few months, that we'll see gold and silver at levels that people are shocked by. And that's exactly how it works. You know, the big money always is positioned before the little guy even figures it out. And here we are at $3,000 gold and not a damn word from the media. People are sleeping at the switch. Rick Rule will tell you 0.5% allocation to precious metals from Joe and Jane Sixpack to the Harvard Endowment Fund. So as gold and silver, I mean, if you would have told me in my career, most of which when gold was under $400, I've been doing this for 35 years, that gold would be at $3,000 and the public is asleep at the switch. The lowest premiums I've ever seen, ever, on gold and silver coins because the public isn't participating in it. I mean, they were wildly in it during the pandemic. And then Trump coming back to reestablish our culture has made everyone turn a blind eye to the monetary side of things. And that's a problem. And everyone is overloaded into a handful of stocks in a banking system that is massively over-leveraged and undercapitalized, and haven't seen the end of that story yet either. I think this will be a very interesting year. I think it will be the best year ever for gold and silver. And the sad part is it's being largely ignored by the American public, who is all crammed into the risk-on trade. Maybe at a time when they should be looking elsewhere, because the biggest money in the world is doing just that, and they're always the ones that lead the crowd. So I guess only time will tell. And maybe I'm stupid for publicly saying these things if that's how I feel. But honest to God, Jesse, in my heart, I feel that there's something way bigger than meets the eye happening with gold and silver. And I do believe when you get the Treasury Secretary who says it's his largest holding, that being gold, when you get Judy Shelton says we're going to peg it to gold 50-year treasuries, when you see it all flowing home, when you see the biggest Western cartel bank holding it all in the form of ETFs, where they could take the ETFs on a Friday night and be sitting on the largest stockpile of silver in the world on top of what they already own and one of the largest of gold, and say, well, what? We didn't break any laws. You can still own physical gold. That money that was in GLD, well, now it's in your money market account. Go buy physical gold from Miles Franklin. Go feel free to do that. Buy from the U.S. Mint. My point is all of these things are setting up for something much bigger than I think people are betting on. And my money is on gold and silver reaching levels. And again, I think it'll reach levels that no one dreams of, but that's not why you own it. You don't own it to get wealthy. You own it because it is wealth that has outstood 2 world wars, German hyperinflation, the Great Depression, every single pandemic. And what did he do? What did he do, Roosevelt? Well, his first act in office in April of 1933 was to confiscate gold. Okay, but why? Because he paid everyone $20.55 for their $20 gold coin. 55 cents was a lot of money in 1933. Everyone was happy. And then he devalued the dollar by 40%, just like that. And now gold was up 40%. Same thing was true in 1971 when they closed the gold window at $35 an ounce. The market revalued gold. Market revalued gold to where it is now at $2,900. Well, what happens if they just decide to revalue gold that is held on their balance sheet at $42 an ounce in the United States and $35 in every other country? And bang, it's $5,000 an ounce. Well, what does that do? Well, that just gave $1.25 trillion free and clear to the Treasury. What if they make it $10,000 an ounce? Well, that just gave $2.5 trillion to the Treasury. How about $145,000 an ounce? Well, now your balance sheet is completely pristine, offsetting by assets and liabilities. What did Bissett just say? Scott Bissett, we are going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet. Well, what assets do we have? $5 trillion plus in assets. The largest being student debt. Well, they're not going to monetize that. The second largest being military. Not going to monetize that. How about land and gold? Oh, maybe. Sure. Why not? Well, what else is he talking about by monetizing the asset side of the balance sheet? Do you see the clues that they're giving you? It's his largest asset. That is gold. He admits to it, that the new Treasury Secretary. My guess is, Jesse, there's a whole hell of a lot more in store for what gold and silver represent to this new administration rather than an investment to all you all. No, it's going to be a lifeline to reestablishing confidence and trust in the West. And it's the only way to do it, in my opinion. So we'll see if I'm right. Either way, I always speak my heart. I mean it. And I look at gold and silver as wealth, not an investment. And I think that's going to bear fruit here in the actions of this new administration.
The idea of a gold revaluation is gaining prominence as concerns over global debt and currency stability continue to mount. Central banks worldwide have steadily increased their gold reserves, indicating a possible move toward a financial system with greater reliance on gold. According to the World Gold Council, after a temporary slowdown in the third quarter of 2024, central bank gold purchases surged toward the year's end, reaching 333 tons, 54% higher than the previous year. The People's Bank of China, PBOC, also resumed its gold acquisitions in November, marking its first purchase since April. These developments suggest that policymakers acknowledge gold's historical role as a safeguard against financial instability and position themselves for a scenario where fiat currencies may face significant devaluation. According to Schectman, this accumulation is not coincidental, but is part of a broader strategy to prepare for an impending monetary transformation. He emphasizes that the actions of financial giants such as JPMorgan and BlackRock suggest an awareness of an imminent gold revaluation, positioning themselves at the core of a new monetary paradigm. Schectman points out that discussions surrounding gold-backed bonds and alternative monetary frameworks are no longer theoretical, but are actively gaining traction among policymakers. With Schectman underscoring the urgency of these developments, the continued acquisition of gold at record levels suggests that a coordinated effort to reintroduce gold into the financial system is underway.
Let's go back to 2019. What did the BIS do? Reclassify gold as the only other tier one asset. So you have gold as a tier one. You have this cartel bank who's been really the center of all the conspiratorial talk forever. Now the custodian of the largest silver trust and one of the largest gold stockpiles in the world, along with BlackRock. You have all the gold and silver being shipped across the globe right now to the COMEX market. You have something called the gold revaluation account. Every central bank on the planet holds gold in the revaluation account, all of them. Now, I've talked a lot about the Dutch National Bank. The guy says, let's revalue gold. We should revalue gold. You got members of the Bundesbank. Let's revalue gold. We should put it on par with its current value or higher to offset our balance sheet. Or how about Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming, who advocates for revaluing gold in order to fund the strategic Bitcoin account? More and more and more people are talking about revaluing gold. How about Judy Shelton, who I just interviewed? Judy Shelton says they're going to revalue gold. Not in so many words when I asked her specifically, but she wants to have a 50-year treasury collared to gold, redeemable in gold. She said her and Trump had discussed it during the first administration. If you remember, she was his nominee to run the Federal Reserve. Wasn't confirmed. Probably will be this time, at least on the Board of Governors. They're good friends. She said, we discussed it. We discussed issuing them on July 4th, 2026, the 250th year anniversary. She said, Andy, they're going to do that. They're going to issue 50-year treasuries backed by gold. I said, Judy, well, what about auditing Fort Knox? She said, absolutely. That needs to be done. And I said, what about revaluing gold? And not in so many words said, yes, it would benefit all the central banks who have been accumulating gold for the last several years. And it would definitely benefit the United States because every $4,000 increase in the price of gold gives a $1 trillion free and clear to the Treasury General account. And it wouldn't even require congressional approval. Jerome would just need to be told by Scott Bessent, who would be told from Trump. Trump would say to Scott, hey, tell Jerome to revalue the price of gold. Bang, it's revalued. Just like that. If you're going to establish confidence, reestablish confidence, like Judy said, you need to peg it to gold. Use the marriage of blockchain technology, like a stable coin, and gold. Judy said to me, Andy, I hope they issue stable coins off the 50-year treasury backed by gold. How's that? Interesting, isn't it? And who controls the on-ramps and the off-ramps to all the stable coins now with all the treasury issuance behind the stable coins? Well, that's pretty much the government. So it's a way to sidestep the CBDC, have the same effect of control in and out, to peg it to gold, to revalue the price of gold, to bring it all home first. I mean, you can't make it up. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care what people say. I'll go out on a limb, and maybe I'm wrong. But Occam's razor, man, says that when all of these things start lining up, it's the most logical answer that prevails. To me, they're bringing all the gold and silver home as much as they can. They're saying it's because of tariffs. It's not. They have the biggest cartel criminal bank in the world holding GLD and SLV. All of these things, aside from it being a tier one asset and the realization that our treasury market is being forsaken because of inflation, default risk, confiscation risk, sanction risk, all of that stuff, In my mind, Jesse, that is the trend. They're going to do something with the only other tier one asset in the world. They're going to peg it to a system. They're going to use blockchain technology, a la stablecoin. And it's going to happen, in my opinion. And that's why I think all the gold's coming home. That's why I think gold is so strong. They want it to go higher. And the only question that I have is, are they going to let it do what it's been doing for the last couple of months? Boom, 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 boom. Or is it going to go bang on a Friday night, Monday morning? I don't know. But I do think, honest to God, I really do believe that there is something much bigger going on in the gold market right now than most people would give credibility to.
If a global gold revaluation does occur, its implications will be far-reaching, fundamentally altering the monetary landscape and diminishing reliance on fiat currencies. Nations with substantial gold reserves, such as China and Russia, could find greater economic strength, leveraging their holdings to gain global trade and finance influence. At the same time, those dependent on debt-driven economies may struggle with severe financial instability. A significant rise in gold prices would erode the dominance of the US dollar and accelerate efforts to establish alternative reserve assets, potentially leading to a multipolar financial system where gold plays a central role. That's it for today. Share your thoughts on Andy's analysis of gold revaluation in the comments section below. If you find this video informative, don't forget to support your finance log team and turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the next video.